Now, a lot of Nebraska fans got extra happy this week when there was news that came out of Georgia that Todd Monken, the Georgia offensive coordinator, is taken off for the NFL and the
Yep.
Baltimore Ravens, and they're putting two and two together to say, well, Dylan Raiola may not want to stick around because he's just lost one of the best offensive coordinators in college football, and Nebraska's going to have a better shot. Now, I don't think they can really put it together that simply, but there's at least maybe a little bit more hope that one of the main guys that brought him to Georgia's not there now.
But they've also replaced Monken with a pretty good one, and Bobo as well.
Sure.
So, um, I actually heard snippets of an interview that Dylan had done talking about that. And, really, Dylan really hadn't really had a chance to make those connections with Todd Monken and the Georgia coaching staff yet. Not like he has with Nebraska, and I'll say USC. I would put personally right now. I'd put Nebraska 1 and 2 with USC on Dylan's list. I'm not trying to make it for Dylan, obviously, but I mean, he's still right there with Georgia. He really likes it there, and once he goes down there on a visit and gets to know the coaching staff a little bit better and stuff, who's to say that Georgia won't spring right up in there? So it really wasn't a huge hit on Dylan Raiola's recruitment regarding Georgia, because he'd already talked about this previous to that. That I think that that they had already talked to Dylan about this possibility about Monken jumping to the NFL before it happened. So they weren't leaving him out of any kind of these decisions. Kirby Smart was up front with him. Todd Monken was up front with him. But you also have to think that Georgia already has another quarterback commitment in this class. And they have offered one of the top guys, in-state guys, as well. So, you know what? Georgia's not putting all their eggs into one basket with Dylan Raiola. And obviously, you don't need to do that if you're Georgia coming off of 2 national titles either. So, like I said, that kind of leads me to think that obviously with the ties to Nebraska, and this also kind of goes with the Georgia thing, is that Dylan hasn't been here yet since Matt Rule was hired. And Matt Rule, obviously he was the first coach to go see Dylan in this, after he, took the job and, basically was starting the cycle for this recruiting class. But that was not an in-home visit. That was just a school visit. And then you saw Nebraska send 9 coaches down, which were in-home visits. So, like I said, USC is a player here because Lincoln Riley came in there and really impressed. And the key with that was that, and this is about the Raiola. The Raiola family is very close. And as far as Dylan's concerned, his mother has the final, say in, yes, I like this decision. And so Lincoln Riley came in there right away. And the first thing he, after shaking his hand, saying, nice to meet you, he's like, I would like to meet your mother. So that left a big time impression on Dylan Raiola. So, yeah, right now, USC, Nebraska, Georgia right now, I think would top his list. But obviously it's very early, and there's still a lot of cards to be played by all these coaching staffs. And like I said, Matt Rule has not had his real chance to really sit down with Dylan and get to form a real bond. And I think once that happens, who knows, things might change. And also a good message, I think, that Nebraska sends out to Dylan Raiola as well is that, to my knowledge, the only other quarterback they really have offered for this class is Bellevue West senior to be Daniel Kalen, who has a ton of offers from a bunch of big-time Power 5 schools. And, Nebraska is pulling no punches on that, or they're up front with Daniel. And, Daniel knows that Nebraska's number one choice is Dylan Raiola. In this recruiting game too, which puts pressure on a guy like Daniel Kalen, is that recruiting window for quarterbacks closes pretty quick. You pretty much need to have your decision made before your senior year starts in high school. Teams move on. They get their guys and they don't have room anymore. So, a guy like Daniel Kalen, who's really impressed. A lot of teams, USC was in here a couple weeks ago seeing him. All the big schools, I could just rattle them all off, and watched him throw in person, and they really loved him, way more than what they've seen on film. And, this is a kid that got found out as a sophomore. Florida State offered him from just seeing him at a camp when he was a sophomore. He wasn't even a starter at Bellevue West until halfway through his junior season. But college coaches really like what they see from Daniel Kalen. So it's really interesting how this Nebraska quarterback recruiting is going right now for this class.